Well, yesterday there was a protest in Washington, D.C. and Capitol Hill by over 80 rabbis and activists, had a sit-in, and many of them were arrested. We're going to be joined by one of the rabbis who took part in that demonstration, Scott Perlow. He's the rabbi at the 6th and I Historic Synagogue in Washington, D.C. And joining us in the studio is Rabbi Susan Silverman, founder of the Sheltering Asylum-Seekers, and of Komacha, a Jewish response to refugees. Susan, you have not been arrested yet on this issue, but you are leading a group that, in fact, is taking action that is going to defy the government. Tell us about it.
That's right. I hope it doesn't get that far. But if it does, if it gets to the point where the government actually does issue these decrees of deportation to asylum seekers here, we will take action, because the choice that the government is giving to these asylum seekers is either go away to your deaths or to being trafficked or go to prison indefinitely.
What action are you going to take?
So what action we're taking is we're giving them a third option. We're saying, come. I cannot believe the number of people who are responding to this. We are thousands of Israeli families, and we will be here for you, and you come and you live in our homes, and the government will have to come through us to take you.
Part of what's really interesting about the message and what you guys are doing in particular, part of the argument about what the Israeli government rather is doing, is that the Jewish state, that many of whom experienced the Holocaust, is doing something now that really defies its own history. You're sort of using the stories of the Holocaust to send that message. Explain that.
In the sense that I talked about Anne Frank as being a sort of an Anne Frank movement, although that's not what we're called officially, right? The Anne Frank movement. Why? Because people took great risk to hide people who otherwise would go to their deaths. Now, no one's going to go to their deaths in Israel. The Israeli government isn't proposing anything of that sort. But we know that when people are sent from here to other countries, that they are back on the refugee trail.
No guarantee of their safety.
Oh, yeah, absolutely no guarantee of their safety. In fact, they're at very, very great risk. And if we are sending them to these other countries, then we are complicit.
Okay, let's go to Washington and speak to Rabbi Scott Perlow. Scott, tell us what your group is doing, and tell us about that incident in the Capitol yesterday.
Kalev Nurit Shalom Uvracha. Yesterday we walked into the Russell Senate building, into the rotunda, and sat down, asking the Senate to pass a Clean Dream Act, a provision for the DACA recipients to be able to stay in the country, be productive citizens, as they have been up till now, and refuse to leave until that bill was passed or we were arrested. And the second part is what happened.
And what is your group, what are you trying to achieve? What is your goal there in terms of the immigration issue?
I think it's very similar to what Rabbi Silverman was saying before. We don't understand what the essential difference is between us and these people. Many of them have lived in the United States for exactly as long as I have, and the Torah teaches that before God, the immigrant and the citizen are exactly the same. So we can't quite understand what possible motivation, other than xenophobia, there is to get these actually wonderful, intelligent, productive group of nearly 800,000 people who are the backbone of a lot of our country, a lot of our society, a lot of our workforce out of this country.
Susan, tell me briefly, you are speaking to these migrants here in Israel, like you're saying, you've heard a lot of response to this project. What are they telling you about their concerns about this program, this sort of offer, though it's not really voluntary, to go off to a third country?
They're terrified. They know what it means. They know that they land in this third country, and right away they're back on the refugee trail. Right away they're headed to places like Libya with the hopes of getting to Europe, but actually being on literal auction blocks, slave auction blocks in Libya. This is what's awaiting them. These people came to us for safety. One of the reasons that I chose the name Anne Frank when we were thinking about this program is because there's an Eritrean refugee who read the diary of Anne Frank, translated it to Tigrinya, and came to Israel saying to himself, the people of Anne Frank will take care of me, they will protect me, and we should.